Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny,
I'm Alice.
and welcome to today's show, which we have already recorded once many weeks ago, and we are re-recording because I had technological difficulties. So you get a whole new episode, basically. Same topic, but I'm sure it's going to be different.
Yeah, we can't remember. It feels like it's been a month, even though it's been like a week and a half.
Oh my God, has it been a week and a half? Oh my God, I cannot handle that time. Jeez.
February is bananas. Too much.
It's way, way too much, way too much. But have you had a chance on any of the other podcasts that you've recorded to talk about your strongman competition?
Not really. I talked about my back.
All right. Well, since that's one of the things that we definitely covered when we recorded this before, I do want to talk about your strongman competition, how it went, how you felt about it. Alice had come up here she stayed with us in Massachusetts because her competition was up in Maine, about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, something like that. So 𝐷𝐿𝐿 and I were super psyched to get to go and actually watch this in person. So I'm not going to explain all of it to you, but I want to hear how you felt about it immediately and how you feel about it now that it's been a few weeks.
Man, there was so much anxiety leading up to it. Mostly excitement, but you get excited, you get that anxiety, and there's like waves. It comes in good and it comes in bad. But I was overall just grateful that I was doing it and pushing myself in all new ways. Leading up to the competition, it felt like the universe was like, "No, you're not going to do this." So I think that sort of magnified like a little bit of the negativity, and I'm like, we have to just like be immune to all this. We had a snowstorm the weekend before. We had a snowstorm that looked like it was going to hit up north again the weekend of, but it ended up veering south and actually hitting my home in Virginia instead. Carson got a cold, and so I was like walking around my own home with my medical mask on, trying desperately not to get sick. And because of all that snow, I was really thinking that my flights would probably get delayed and or canceled. Somehow none of that happened, but I did end up getting sick. I thought I had missed that,
And
but
it was like a day before.
yeah,
Like one day before. I remember the morning I woke up before and you were like, I'm sick. It's
yeah,
happening. And I was like,
but
no.
yeah, yeah. But I'm really, oh gosh, I'm so glad that I was able to be with you guys and be up there for this first competition. And thank you for specifying it was only an hour and a half away, because it sounds like Maine, like, oh, that sounds like a
Yeah.
long way away.
Yeah. It's not close, but it's the border of Maine is 40 minutes from my house. You can drive through the little piece of New Hampshire and right into Maine in 40 minutes. People don't realize how close together the states are in New England.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. And there was so much snow on the ground. Oh my gosh, there's still snow. Y'all are still getting snowed on like crazy.
There is so much more snow now.
There's probably not any place for the snow plows to put the new snow. It's that bad.
Oh, I think that's the number one reason. Some schools are still canceled today, even though the blizzard was on Sunday, and it's Wednesday today, because the snow piles are so big. I mean, some of them are probably 12, 15 feet tall, like kids walking down the street. It's very scary when you turn the corner around a snow pile and there's another car or a person and you're just so you have to crawl. But yeah, it's snowing again right now. Right now.
There's literally no place for the children to stand to wait for the bus.
Yeah, just the road. You just stand in the road. But it was funny. We had the Rhode Island Veg Fest this past weekend, and that's when the blizzard was supposed to hit, was Sunday. And all weekend there was this buzz of oh man, we're gonna have to shut down the Veg Fest early Sunday. But the Veg Fest people were like, you guys can't leave early. It looks really bad if the vendors leave early, and people bought tickets for this in advance. And we were like, okay, I guess we'll stay till 5. But it stopped nobody from coming out. No, it was busier on Sunday than it was on Saturday. 𝐷𝐿𝐿 and I did race home to beat the storm, which was a little scary because I don't like driving in the dark, let alone fast in the dark. Anyway, we did beat the storm. But I want to hear about the competition itself, how you felt doing the competition.
Doing the competition, we got there so early, which it actually relieves my anxiety. So that was actually a good thing that we were there early for me and my brain. 𝐷𝐿𝐿 was sitting there talking to me. He was like, I'm feeling validated as you're just getting all your stuff organized and folded and ready. But everyone there was so friendly, so friendly. Like I had complete strangers, people in the audience, other competitors, men and women coming up to me and just saying nice things the whole time. Like, oh, I saw your lift on your blah, blah, blah. It's a really great job. You look great out there. A lot of people were like, oh, is this your first competition? I guess I look green or something. So I'm like, yes, yes. But it was just great energy. Let's see. So the axle clean and press was my first lift and probably my favorite lift, if I'm really totally honest. And I came so close to hitting a new PR. I was like, I thought for sure I had it. I just couldn't like fully extend elbows up. And so like I posted a reel just like showing all my lifts and I included that fail just because I was like proud of the fail.
Mm-hmm.
I lifted 110 on the axle clean and press, and let's see, second event was deadlift, and I hit my regular lift, my 275. uh, However, by the time I got my second lift, my back was starting to sort of talk to me, and I had recently had like a back sprain like 2 weeks before. um strain, right, back strain.
Strain, yeah.
Yes. You sprain your ankle, you strain a muscle. And it was starting to talk to me again when I went to go try like my third attempt to see if I could like hit a new PR. It was a mistake. It was a mistake trying to hit a new PR because my back very, very much like locked up. And so I'm in my head. I'm not really like expressing too much of my fear to like Danny and Giacomo because I'm not like, I'm like, I can't just tell them like, I need to go home. I'm like, no, we're gonna tough it out and we're going to stretch a lot and stay warm and we're gonna finish this competition. And I kept hoping, like any second, it's just gonna feel better. I took more Tylenol, but oh gosh. And I think the hardest part was that there was so much time in between the events. We're only like 9 women or something, competitors in there, period. And there were like almost 50 male competitors. And so the women had to wait for all of the guys to finish the same event before we could go forward. And so we're just sitting there, like, I'm just sitting there just trying to stay warm. I'm like doing really light deadlifts. I'm like foam rolling. I'm like stretching. I'm just doing anything I can to try to like not let my body cool off. But
It was a long day, like from start to finish of when the actual event started, not even what time we got there. It was like probably 8 hours or so, right?
no, we were there for, I mean, me and Giacomo were there for, that was like a 12-hour day.
Man.
Because we got there at like 6 and then we didn't leave until after 6.
So I was just at a powerlifting meet on Saturday with my client, Tammy, who did great. It was in Boston. She's from Virginia. It was freezing. She was not loving it.
Yeah.
But the meet started at 9. She was done by 1. And like, that's how it's gotta be. Like even that length of time, 4 hours is a long time for like an athlete to like stay excited and warm and ready to train like all day. I was feeling for the athletes because I was like, how are you gonna stay like have that correct amount of athlete arousal to keep doing this all day? Like your adrenaline's just gonna like peter out at some point.
Yeah. Oh gosh. It was hard. And I was very frustrated at the time. Looking back, I can remember like feeling very frustrated. But third lift, we did farmers hold instead of farmers carry. So I remember telling people about that and everyone's like, really, you're doing the hold and not the carry? Yes. Yes. Holding farmers handles for as long as you can. And I was really nervous about this because I had the promoter had reached out to me a couple weeks before and was like, hey, I'd really like to see if you could enroll an open instead of novice. So I was originally planning on doing novice. And that just basically means you're not competing against anyone. You're going in there. You're just saying, I want to lift these things. And it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. You can't win anything, but you're there. You're there to just sort of like not fail anything. But he really encouraged me. And what that meant was my farmer's handles had to be like basically 30 pounds heavier than what I was currently doing.
And it was 150 pounds each hand, right?
Yeah. Yes. So it was basically like doing a deadlift from like a couple inches higher in each side of you for like 300 pounds. Oh gosh. and I held it for like, I think like 30 seconds, I think even, which I was pretty proud of considering originally I was going in there thinking I'm just going to get a few seconds. So 30 is a lot better than just a few seconds. Last event was max yoke carry, and I did 350 pounds. And I love yoke carry. It's so fun. We were supposed to have 2 attempts, but because my back was so tight, I did it. I was like, you know what? I think since I got my first attempt fine, I'm just going to pass my second attempt, and no one had a problem with that. And actually, one of the other ladies was like, that's actually a really good idea. I think I'm going to do that too.
Yeah. It seems kind of crazy to have people do that twice to what? Maybe add 10, 20 pounds to it? Like, I don't know.
I think
But
some people were adding 25 to 50 pounds, depending. I don't
yeah,
know.
and I mean, some of the guys were adding a couple 100 pounds, which is kind of wild. But yeah, I mean, overall, good experience, bad experience. I know you've had a lot of thoughts since then.
It was a good experience, and I definitely want to do it again. I got a little medal. It felt really good to get something because even though I'd only been training since September, it was still like that was a lot of work. That was a lot of time. That was a lot of hours, and dealing with the back stuff was nerve-wracking. I want to do it again. I'm just not going to do it. I might do something else at the end of this year, but I'm thinking, the original plan was to do like 2 more competitions this year. I'm thinking maybe 1 more. We will see. We will see.
Yeah. I'm usually a big fan of 2 competitions for powerlifters per year, but every one of my powerlifters wants to do more than that, so that's a constant push-pull that we have. 'Cause it's just so much on your body to be, like, that close to max all the time, and strongman is even like, in my opinion, strongman's probably even tougher on the body because they are a lot less strict about the form on things, and some of the movements require weird form.
Mhm.
Like there's no neat and tidy way to axle clean and press up near your max, like it's pretty watching some of the girls, I was like, "Oh my
No.
God."
Yeah. Olympic lifters would look at that and be like, "Oh gosh, clean the bar up to your belt, and then like hoist it up into the correct rack
In like
position."
a semi back bend. That
Yes.
was crazy to watch. I mean, I literally thought one of the girls was going down, like
Yeah.
backwards, just trying to get it there. And then she took her belt off because it was like impeding her, and I was like, "She's gonna die." She didn't, but yeah.
And the
So,
spotters were not like all up on us either. Like that was what was making me really scared. I'm like,
mhm.
"What are you doing? Get in there."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting as somebody who's been to a million powerlifting meets, but only seen strongman competitions when we're out there with plant built, so I see them in like bits and pieces. I was like, "Oh, this is totally, totally different. This is like the wild, wild west of strength
It is.
sports here."
It really is. So the reason that, strongman is so difficult is because similar to CrossFit, you can literally do almost anything. They kind of have like their core lifts, but then a lot of the promoters will be like, "Oh, we're going to make this really interesting and do like a mystery event or like like what was I watching? I was watching some worlds from like 2025 or 2024, and they had these women like try to like press yokes.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yokes are heavy, like
Yeah.
really heavy on
Mhm.
their own.
Mhm.
So many of those women just like failed. And it's like you came that far to
Yeah.
fail, and it wasn't even the last thing in the heat. And I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
that would just, I would be on fire if I was in that competition. Can't we just, I mean, it's fine. It's fine we have different lifts, but like sometimes there's too much creativity.
Yeah. So I actually Friday is my first kind of CrossFit competition. I mean, it's not really a competition. Like I'm not going to a competition. It's the CrossFit Open. So if people aren't familiar what that is, it's once a year for 3 weeks. There's 3 workouts that everybody in the world basically does. And it gets judged as you're doing it and then put into a system to kind of see where you rank. And we don't know what it's going to be until Thursday night. And it's Friday. And one of the things that I already know is very much a possibility is there could be stuff in the workout that I just cannot do. Like if there's ring muscle ups or something in there, I can't do it, which kind of sucks, right? I mean, like I can scale it and do something else, and there might be a different thing for me to do for my age group or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's a little nerve wracking to not really know what you're training for, I
So
guess.
with strongman, we do know what we're training for when
Mm-hmm.
we sign up for the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They might not, like I said, there might be a mystery event, but there's usually only like one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a common thing. But for CrossFit, is it always like that? You never know what you're going to do, or
Well, with the open, you'd find out the day before. With some competitions, you find out a few days before. But it's
okay,
like, you can't. So some people will do like a test run of the workout, which is what the competition is. It's not really like this is the event. It's like it's a workout. You have a certain amount of time, but they're all different. It could be get as many reps as possible in this amount of time. It could be do 5 rounds of this as fast as you can. It could be work up to the heaviest weight you can in this particular barbell complex. You just don't know. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited
yeah,
about it.
you should be excited.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm also super, super stressed because it's Friday night, probably from 5:30 to like 8 o'clock. And then we have to be at the airport at 7 in the morning for the cruise.
My goodness, Danny, wow.
Yeah. And then I'm going to miss the second one because I'm going to be on the cruise. So we get home on, I think, Sunday night. And then I got to come in on Monday morning, basically, and do the second one that I missed to get it in before, like, you're not allowed to get it in anymore. So not really setting myself up for success here, but what are you going to do? So let's talk about what we're here to talk about, which is travel. Appropriate segue here. How do you stay on track when you're traveling and all of the different things that that could possibly entail? So I think for me, the first thing that I think about when I'm traveling is, do I want to stay on track during this particular trip? Because I think that's really, really important. If it's a vacation that you've been saving for and planning for like a year and mapping out all the stuff you want to do, like, is it really appropriate for you to be like tracking your macros while you're trying to do that? I don't really think so, unless there's a very specific reason that you have to do that. But if you're in a position like I'm in and like you're often in, like we're traveling a lot, kind of routinely for work-related things. And if you kind of looked at every trip as well, I'm just gonna wing it and hope for the best. Enough of those trips, it will absolutely add up and start to move you further from your goals instead of closer to it. So for the sake of this podcast, that's the type of trip we're going to be talking about. We're not suggesting you need to do these things on your vacation or your honeymoon or anything like that. But for those smaller trips, the trips that you kind of have to do but don't necessarily really want to do all the time, like, how do you stay on track? And I know we both have our different ways, so I'll let you talk about some of your favorite ways first.
Can we talk about the gym first because it's
Yeah,
easier?
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So with the gym, we go on. I always refer to these vegan strong trips because these are the most challenging. It's a very intense weekend. We're usually there for a few days. I feel like I'm almost always like knee deep in goals when I'm on these trips. But thankfully, right now I'm on a build. I think whether you're on a build or you're on a cut, I think that you just sort of have to have like a fair, like, this is the bar I'm going to reach, and it's not my normal bar. But it's just like sort of like planning for, as you've said before, planning for your worst self, right? And so what that means is like sort of being like at maintenance, not necessarily hitting numbers perfectly, but if you're trying to lose weight, like then the goal on this trip becomes try to maintain, right? If you're trying to gain weight, once again, like the goal is to not lose weight.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm bulking right now. So normally I have, pretty high like protein goals. I would say like protein is like definitely the hardest thing to get when you're traveling. So my like bare like bottom number that I have to hit is 100 grams of protein. And that's like doable. It's still challenging, but it's doable. And then we usually plan to go out to eat once a day, right? And hopefully you have a little bit of say in what restaurant you go to, right? Trying to find a place that has some protein, at least some tofu. Great if you can find a place that has seitan, right? And the rest of the day, I'd say like packing my protein. Like I'm packing as much protein as I can, or I'm planning on going to the grocery store and buying something that's really easy to find, like Morningstar chicken strips, right? I have been known to like make seitan in bulk and freeze it, and then I will pack it in my bag. And by the time I arrive, it's usually still not fully thawed out. So it works out very well for me. I'm a huge, huge fan of making seitan. So that's what I like to do. And do you want to talk a little bit about protein before I go forward with that?
Well, first I want to talk a little bit about the gym.
Sorry,
If it If it's possible, if it makes sense for your program, and especially depending on how many days you're going to be away, this might not be necessary if it's like 2 days, but if you're going to be gone for several days, probably a good idea to try to line your deload up with that week
Yeah.
because you're probably not going to, even if you wanted to do your full routine, it's probably going to be pretty challenging to do so. So if you can line your deload up where you're doing either fewer days or less volume or both, that's great. I really do like to travel with bands. I know bands, well, I could talk about this for a while, but for some exercises, I think bands are actually better than dumbbells. So I don't always think that bands are a concession to dumbbells, but if you pick up a 25-pound dumbbell, it's always 25 pounds, but you have to work to make a band hard. So you have to be willing to do that. You have to be honest with yourself and be like, this is too easy. I could probably do a heavier band, or I could choke up on this band. But if you are willing to do that, you can have some pretty good workouts with the bands. It's different than what you'd do at home, but you'll hear me talk about this a ton on the cruise because I talk about it in every class that I teach, how valuable bands are for especially travel. So I always bring that, and the set that I have has a little tiny like door anchor. So if I'm in a hotel, I can anchor it over the door in the side of the bathroom door, usually over the top of the door or the side of the door to do rows or pull downs. So we do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, we check out the gyms that are in the area, especially if it's like me and Giacomo will usually check and see what gyms are there and if the day pass is reasonable. So you used to be able to get a day pass for $10 pretty easily. Now, if we can find one for $20, that's like good. Occasionally, you'll find a place that will like honor a free week or something if you've never been there before, or a free 3 days. And if you can get that, that's awesome. You do usually have to put up with the personal training spiel, which is kind of annoying, but you get to train for free. And if you can book a hotel or an Airbnb that has a gym, that's awesome. So an Airbnb with a gym would be like an apartment complex that allows you access to the gym. And some hotels, there's some hotels the gyms are terrible, but some of them have pretty decent gyms that you can really make a decent workout out of.
Yeah. I think if you can find a hotel gym that has a cable stack, then usually you're in there. If it has a cable stack and like a leg press or a leg extension, you can do a lot. You can do a lot with that. You'll be really lucky to find that. A lot of times you'll go in and there's like maybe a few dumbbells and a couple of like bikes and or treadmills, and that's about it. Um, yeah, I definitely recommend bands for a lot of people. I haven't purchased this membership yet, but I probably will at some point in time. The Black Card at Planet Fitness. There are so many Planet Fitnesses sprinkled all over the states that you'd be really hard pressed like to go pretty much anywhere and not find one within 15 minutes, honestly. I used to do the YMCA. I was a member of the YMCA for years. And wow, that's a lot. It's more costly than the Black Card, obviously. They're very similar. Like every time I've traveled, I've been able to find a Y within probably 40 minutes of wherever I've stayed. As long as you're in a city-ish place, then that's a really, really good option. And if you're a person who does road trips, definitely get the Black Card because you can go and take a shower there. They have nice showers. A lot of them have like the massage beds, so those are great things. We've ended up at like LA Fitness. Usually their passes are pretty good. We've ended up at I've never been able to find a good deal at a Crunch, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think I've really been anywhere where I've seen Crunch, but we've also done 24-hour fitnesses out west. But sometimes like different cities, especially because we're often going to fitness expos, like we'll kind of hear word like, oh, check out, this is the gym in this town that you should go to if you're here for this weekend. And usually those gyms are offering a special for people that are coming to the event. So
yeah, what gym was that when we went to the Arnold?
I don't know because I didn't go.
Oh
But
my God.
I know what you're talking about, but I didn't go to that one.
It was huge. It was epic. It was really cool, but man, it was dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the really hardcore, like bodybuilder, powerlifter style gyms are pretty grungy. Like, get a tetanus shot. Because
And just picture this. Like, I don't know why Danny didn't come, but that's okay.
I was exhausted.
But pretty much the whole plant built team that was there was just like let's all go to the gym together. And I remember being in there and Katya's deadlifting and recording, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone spread out, like there were different rooms where there were like some dedicated powerlifting rooms, and it's like, I'm talking like painted brick and like graffiti all over the place. And
Right.
so it was just like, we're trying to be serious, but we had such a good time.
Yep. Yep. Been
You can have
there. Not that
some really
gym,
great
but
stories.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
pretty much knew that. I remember thinking like they're gonna go hang out. Like that's what they're gonna do. And I am so freaking tired. I still have so much work to do. I'd rather get the extra hour of sleep or whatever before this insane 10-hour day standing at the booth. So
in fact, I wanted to say, if you are traveling, please, like, I recommend to everybody, like, get that workout done, whether you're doing bands or the gym, first thing before anything else, because you're going to be exhausted and you're not going to want to do anything, especially like you've had the long day of whatever you're there to do, whether it be work, whether it be sightseeing and getting 30,000 steps and then going out to dinner. So you're going to be full, you're going to be exhausted. The last thing you're going to want to do is adhere to your plan at the end of the day.
yeah. Yeah, you just brought up another good thing is like walk wherever you can when you're traveling. Like Giacomo and I always make a point to try to see as much as we can see. And usually that's like on foot, especially if we are on a vacation. Like that's usually when we get the most steps. It's not a work trip, it's a vacation trip because we're like, we'll never be here again. Let's make sure we see everything. And that builds in a lot of wiggle room for your diet, believe it or not. So I don't think people realize. I actually did this math yesterday for a YouTube video I was recording. 5,000 steps a day equates to 20 pounds a year. Like the calorie burn or not burn. So what I was talking about was how my steps had decreased so much. And I was explaining like, this is why the steps matter so much. Just moving matters and then live on camera, I was like, let me do the math. And I was like, okay, so if I'm getting 5,000 steps less now than I did, a year ago, and I did that every single day for an entire year, that would equate to the caloric equivalent of 20.8 pounds in a year. Isn't that crazy?
Is, but it doesn't surprise me with like working with people the way I do now. And that's like the number one thing that we talk about is steps.
Yeah, just move, move, move. And I'm really struggling with that because work has just been so batshit, like literally insane. So let's so walking more will build more wiggle room into your diet. But let's talk about diet. So you had started to talk about protein. So everybody, I feel like this is where you're going to find the most individuality in terms of how people do things is going to be with the diet and like what people feel like they need to have on them to feel like they can do what they're trying to do. So I pretty much always pack my breakfast, which is the cereal with the edamame puffs. And then I get soy milk wherever it is I'm going. And like, boom, that's 50 grams of protein for breakfast. Like the head start that I have with breakfast is great because 100 is like the minimum for me. Maybe I could get away with 90, maybe, but like I would like to still get my regular amount of protein. I feel better that way, etc. So I always bring my breakfast. I have clients that make the protein bagels and bring those with them when they travel. I have historically made a loaf of our protein bread and literally traveled with a loaf of bread.
Yeah. I mean, I bring the loaf of seitan. So,
yeah. I mean, is it sane? I don't know if it's sane, but I have done it in the past. When I'm trying to be a little bit more minimal, I always bring the breakfast. I always bring some bars. I always bring some jerky. And I always hit a grocery store, whether that's to go to a grocery store with a rental car or whatever, or if it's to Instacart groceries to the hotel, which a lot of people don't realize you can do. And Instacart can be a little bit hit or miss, but I've had a lot of success with it. You do pay a little bit more for it, but you're paying more for everything when you're traveling anyway. Might as well
I
get the
don't
foods you like.
Instacart everything. I'll pack what I can that is dry. So I'm almost always packing a protein cereal. I have started packing the edamame puffs, even though unpopular opinion, I'm one of the few that's just like, I'm not really like 100% sold on those things. I'm just like, edamame puffs.
I love them.
Good for you. No, they're okay if I can like microwave them with a little bit of milk or something. I just think they're like too crunchy and too much. I don't know. But
hey, no judgment from me because that's how most people would say like, oh, and I bring some protein powder. And I'm like, ew, why? Like, everybody, and then people come up to me and they're like, oh, I noticed that you don't use protein powders. Can you tell me what's wrong with protein powders? And I'm like, they're gross. Like, that's my answer. There's nothing wrong with them. They're fine. They're convenient. Their macros are outstanding, but also ew. Like, I don't want it.
Packing some protein powder, packing the edamame puffs, packing a protein cereal. Now we're forced to use post-premier protein since they discontinued our beloved Wheaties protein. And then I'm also going to pack things that I'm just really not going to want to buy, like my creatine, obviously, but also like I've started buying vanilla powder because it's so much easier to travel with than liquid vanilla extract. Cocoa powder, maybe some cinnamon. You know, these are things that I'm just using like regularly. And who's going to want to buy a whole thing of that when we get there, right? You can put them in little baggies, anything that's dry and anything that's not like super cheap and easy to get. Like I have packed oats before, but it's so easy to just go get oats from the store. You know, I think the only challenge would be like finding a small enough thing of it. So
Yeah.
maybe it was a really short trip and something like that.
Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree has the real small oats.
Yeah. Well, do they have them without all the sugar added though?
I think so. I mean, it probably depends on the Dollar Tree, but yeah, I've bought oats at Dollar Tree for like some watch me make super cheap food videos before.
So yeah, if you can pack anything that's dry, and that's gonna just easy travel, it's not gonna take up a bunch of weight. So bars also. Always packing an entire box of Nugo bars because even though I don't want to eat that whole box on a trip, a lot of times it happens.
Right.
You can't really pack Owen shakes, but when you get there, you can find them. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
32 grams. So when I get there, the first thing I want to do is go to a grocery store.
Right.
And I'm going to go to a grocery store and get like I said, if there is a protein that's easy to find, like the Morningstar chicken strips, like maybe Boca burgers, if I'm like really just jonesing for burgers, things like that. And then I'm going to buy vegetables. It's really hard to get your vegetables. I'm going to buy some frozen berries because wherever I want to go, it's got to have a microwave, right? Mini fridge. And I don't usually buy like tofu when I'm traveling, although you could buy the ready-made kind. I've known clients to do that a lot.
That's the one that I do. I buy the like pre-baked ones, especially because to me that's a little bit like a treat because I would never buy that here. I would just always make tofu from scratch, but when I'm traveling, I'm like, ooh, I have a reason to spend $4.50 on these 2 squares of protein.
Exactly. And then so I save Instacart for if there are some specialty vegan products that I usually cannot find and I know that I'm going to be just miserable without. A good example has been like my silk soy yogurt. That's something that I always try to order. You have something?
No, not specifically. I was thinking about how when I travel, sometimes I get the Greek yogurt, the Kite Hill Greek yogurt, because I can't find it here. So that also feels like a treat for me. One of the things that we always do, and this especially works if you have multiple people with you, even if it's just me and Giacomo, we still do this. You've seen me do this. We get the stuff to make tofurkey sandwiches. So I'll buy a loaf of bread, packages of tofurkey, like 1 package of cheese is enough for the entire week. We get mustard, which is like $1. And then lettuce, tomato, pickle, depending on like what we want. Sometimes hummus or something. And then when we're working during the day, and you could do this even if you were out sightseeing and it would save you the money of eating out twice a day, we just pack the sandwiches and we put them in our little collapsible Tupperwares, which, you know, Alice brought some stuff to show you guys, but there are some items that we use when we travel that make these things a little bit easier. And that's one of them. Maybe you can show it to them. So it collapses down to be like less than 1 inch tall, but it pops open to, I think that's the same one I have. It's like 6 cups. Like it's big. Yeah. So we can fit 2 sandwiches in that. And then when we're done, you just collapse it down. If you have leftovers from a restaurant.
If you're watching on YouTube, guys, you can see me showing this stuff. Yes, I have one of these. So I really am a huge fan of like food safe silicone. It's better for microwaving, right, than just getting like regular plastic. We never want to microwave in plastic if we can help it. And so a lot of times the food safe silicone is going to come in this weird blue color. There is food safe silicone in other colors, but typically this one I found to be less like fragrant as far as like the silicone smells.
You know what I've noticed with the silicone stuff? Is you definitely, whatever dish soap you're using to clean them, make sure it's unscented because it seems like a lot of silicone products do suck up the smell of the dish soap. And that's weird. I don't like that. But I've heard, and I haven't actually tried it yet, if it has like that soapy smell or whatever, if you bake the whole thing for a few minutes, allegedly it gets rid of that completely. So I'm sure probably when you get home, soaking it in some vinegar probably as well. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I have the cup. I'm really a big fan of these, and sometimes I use them around the house too. Don't you also have the kettle? I have the kettle. I use camping silverware, so there's like a knife
on this side. You can't really see the serrated, but it's really like they're really super nice. You can buy a whole pack of these and then they like bungee together. So Danny taught me into buying this thing. So I have a kettle because,
It's funny because I don't even have it.
well, you know that horrible, horrible video of people like cleaning their personal clothes in the hotel, like coffee makers. So I think that's really how these are gaining popularity, but you can get the kettles as well. Also food safe silicone, and these collapse down as well. They have a little lid. You can have it, set to boiling, and it boils really quickly. You just plug it in. It's pretty easy to pack. This isn't the smallest thing, obviously. I mean, I've always got my bowl. I've always got my camping silverware. I've always got my cup. I don't always bring the kettle, especially if I'm trying to just do like a carry-on. But I get
What
really
else?
creative.
I got these heated lunch boxes for our whole coaching team for Christmas, and they're really cool. Again, they're not the smallest things. So if you're traveling on a plane, this probably wouldn't work. But if you're like doing a road trip or something, it's a lunchbox that has like a metal Tupperware inside of it, and you can hit some buttons on it, say when you want your food in there to be hot, and it'll heat it up for you, which is great if you have something that you don't necessarily want to eat cold, or you're like on the road all day and you want to have a hot meal without having to stop and go somewhere. It's really good for that.
There's also I think it's called, is it the Hot Shot? I have one of, they're in the closet. I didn't pull this one out, but it's actually just a soft version of that basically. And then it's got
Okay.
glass on the inside
Mm-hmm.
and it's got just a heating thing on the bottom, and it's made for the car. So it has the adapter to be plugged into the cigarette lighter. So there's a whole bunch of things that people are coming up with to be really creative with this. You talked about protein powder. There are times when I am like addicted to like I'm just like really on like a shake fix, and I will actually bring a immersion blender.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I brought this to Danny and Giacomo's house before,
You
actually.
lunatic. It was especially funny because we have an immersion blender, so you didn't have to bring it here.
You don't feel, I don't know, you don't want to like go through someone else's like entire like kitchen appliances when you're staying with them. I don't know.
I would literally never care at all.
I
It would
know.
make me very happy to see people. Like when Ben shows up and he barely says hi and he just goes into the fridge, that warms my heart, actually.
I know.
I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they're so comfortable.
No, but mostly like for a hotel room, and I'll pack the protein powder, guys, and then I go to the grocery store. I get soy milk. Usually I'm making like a pina colada protein shake, so I'll get some pineapple juice. I'll get a banana. I might have packed some coconut extract or just skip the coconut part of it. And easy peasy. A little stevia, and this works beautifully. It comes with a cup that will literally, you can blend it in.
I have some clients that have something kind of similar but different. It's basically like a little shaker cup with a blender in it. Now, I know there's a million of these, and I'm sure some of them are trash and don't do anything, but some of my clients have ones that are good enough to blend up frozen fruit, which is cool. I couldn't tell you the brand, though, so you'd have to do some digging on that. What are some other little tidbits that people might not know? One, you can bring food through security at an airport. A lot of people don't think you can bring like homemade food through security or even packaged food, as long as it's not like a liquidy gel-ish type consistency. Like I've had a jar of peanut butter taken away from me in security, had a jar of protein cookie dough taken away in security. That was painful because I had just bought it at the expo. I was like, can I just stand over here and eat this whole thing? Because they can't see through it. So sometimes I'll take the food out and like look at it, but other than that, the peanut butter situations, like I've never had anything taken away from me. Even if you want to get liquid through security, if it is frozen, if it is rock solid frozen when you go through security, they will let it through. So it's got to be pretty.
Ice packs, guys. So if you're trying to have a cooler, I still have my little cooler bag that I carry. It looks like a photography case. It's so big. But as long as it is mostly frozen when you go through security, it's not going to be confiscated. You can also get specialty types. They call them bricks. They're basically like they have a little mold that's solid that allows liquid to seep through. So there's not as much liquid that needs to be frozen. And those are typically very security safe and they won't confiscate.
You can also take powders through security. People get really, really weird about this because they think if they like put their creatine in a Ziploc bag and take it through security, they're going to think it's drugs and they're going to take it away. And, I've taken so many baggies of powders through security. And, I'll be honest with you, before I had TSA pre-check, they did usually pull it out and look at it.
Yeah, they look at it.
But we've never had any problems getting anything like that through security. You know what we have had problems getting through security? Because 𝐸𝐵𝐿 is probably even weirder than you, and the stuff that he brings with him is his scale, his floor scale. Yeah, he put that in his luggage, and both ways on our last trip, they like stopped and looked at it, and they were like, "Bro, I don't know about this." They did let it through, but it was like they didn't have a protocol for it because like they don't usually see body weight scales go through security. Kind of funny, but just because it's so big and like metal and glass, and I don't know.
As long as you are keeping it in its packaging, I find that they don't mess with it. Even if it's open,
Mm-hmm.
I have never had a powder confiscated.
Yeah, me either. But
Never
mine look a lot more like drugs than that one does. But they still haven't confiscated it. I think a couple times they've like swabbed the outside of it, but they never did anything with
people
it.
get really. I make security very nervous when I bring my frozen seitan and a carry-on. Every time they take that out and they're like inspecting it. If I chop it up into like to make it look like lunch meat, then it passes. No one.
But if it's a brick,
if it's a brick, like
yeah,
take it out. I'm like, oh geez.
So if you've never taken food through security like that before, give yourself an extra 5 to 10 minutes. Just in case, right? Just in case they do start looking through it. I don't want to be responsible for you getting held up on your flight. And the last thing is, of course, to me, I feel like this goes without saying, but a lot of people don't do this, is your water bottle. Like, just take it empty through security and fill it up on the other side. That's it. And I like this one. I mean, hey, it's another present I got for us all for Christmas one year, but it keeps hot stuff hot, keeps cold stuff cold. So when I'm there, if I want to have coffee or tea in this, it's still going to work. I just have to change the top out. So yeah, I don't really bring a food scale with me when I travel anymore. Do you?
If I'm cutting, I do bring a scale.
If I'm cutting.
Otherwise, no. And they have really small ones that you can get, but I haven't bothered. My regular kitchen scale is not that heavy. I haven't had that big of a problem. And I like to bring 2 cups because I'm very particular and don't like to put coffee in my water bottle. But I'll have a smaller, like stainless steel cup that has a lid that's dedicated for coffee. Matcha, I get on matcha kicks, so I bring this.
I do that if I'm driving. If I'm driving, I usually bring 2. But if I'm flying, I am a carry-on girly through and through. Like, I am not checking a bag unless I absolutely have to. Like, we have to for this cruise because we have to bring all the bands for all of our classes and like books and stuff. So I'm already kind of pissed off about that. I hate checking a bag more than anything. But so if I'm just doing sorry, go ahead.
For road trips, I highly, highly recommend, this is a thing, you can get a plug-in cooler that you can plug into your car. Mine is on wheels, and I have taken that inside the hotel. Sometimes I'll just transfer my things to the mini fridge. Sometimes I will use both. And then you have extra, like, especially if I'm cutting, because you just need so much more and you need so many more specialty products. That's my pro tip. A lot of people are like, what? Plug-in cooler? That's a thing?
Hear me out. So a lot of the stuff we're talking about is like how to stay on track while you're traveling, but I would be remiss if I didn't say you could take almost all of these tips are also how to save money on food while you're traveling. Because if you don't do this stuff, you have to go buy breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks, multiple times a day, every day at restaurant or convenience store prices is crazy. So even though the cooler, like for one person that's not getting ready for a bodybuilding show, that's probably overkill. But like, if you're traveling with people, if you're traveling with your family and you're like, hey, I would like to save $100 a day by having a cooler that keeps our lunches in it so that we don't have to keep buying it, it's a really good way to save money as well. So, and the last thing, okay, a couple more things I would say is one of the things we don't usually talk about with travel is coming home. Like coming home usually takes a few days to get back on track for pretty much everybody, I would say. So this is another time where Instacart can be a godsend. If you can have your regular groceries waiting for you when you get home, that's one last trip you have to make when you get home, when you're usually like just trying to get settled and back into your groove really quickly. I would say probably don't weigh yourself for a couple of days when you get home, because whether it's up or down, it's probably like an outlier of a number the day that you get home. Unless you're like me and you sometimes like to step on the scale because it makes you laugh because you know it's going to be a wild number. But if you think it's going to affect you negatively, just don't stand on it for a couple days. I'm telling you, it will be in a normal place in a couple of days, unless it was a particularly crazy trip, which hopefully it's not, because you're taking the tips that we're talking about in this podcast. Set your house up. Go ahead.
You're gonna be like holding on to water, no matter what you're traveling, whether it's in the car or on a plane or on a boat. You're gonna be holding on to water. So that number on the scale, don't freak out. Like if you are really like, I've got to go on the scale every single morning, like just remind yourself, like don't beat yourself up over it. It's not your real weight.
A lot of people also get really bloated when they travel because you're sitting for long periods of time while you're traveling. You're using a bathroom that isn't yours, which could sometimes make people's digestion get a little bit weird. So like when I have clients traveling in for a competition, bodybuilding or powerlifting, like we need to get there a few days early because the body's got to settle. But other things I can think of is set your house up before you leave so that when you come home, there's this minimal stuff you have to do to get back into your groove. You know, have your laundry, other than what you're taking with you, have that done before you leave. Keep your kitchen nice and tidy. Get the trash out so it doesn't stink by the time you get home, or anything in your fridge that's going to stink by the time you get home. Get that out. We made that mistake on one of our last trips, and it took me forever to figure out what in the fridge was stinking to high heaven. You were here for that, right? Yeah. And I was like, what is that? Like, I kept thinking like, oh, it's got to be this. I think it was greens that were in a Tupperware, like a fully sealed Tupperware that just stank so bad that we could smell it outside of the Tupperware. Gross. So don't do that. Yeah, I guess those are pretty much all of my tips. There's probably more little ones if I sat here and thought about it for a long time, but
I would just say also, when you're planning your food, plan for what you're going to eat on travel days. I know a lot of people are fine just like fasting all day. I am not fine. Not fine. Especially if I'm cutting. So just like Danny mentioned, the sandwiches, like I'm counting my travel days in my sandwich purchasing decisions and grocery purchasing decisions.
apples, as long as you're not traveling internationally, in which case you cannot travel with produce. But if you're traveling within the country, I always keep a few apples in my bag as well. So I usually travel on the day I'm flying out. I make a hearty breakfast sandwich. That to me feels like very treat-like. It's pretty high in calories, but it prevents me from buying crap at the airport. And that's very expensive and never the macros that I want it to be. At least this is closer. But sometimes I find that I get real snacky on the plane, even if I'm not actually hungry, which is so annoying. There's nothing worse than like wanting to eat when you know full right and well you're not hungry. But that's when I usually bust out an apple, which, you know, that it's got water, it's got fiber, it's sweet. It works really well for me. And just even emotionally to know that I have a few apples in my bag. So even if we get stranded somewhere, I have some food and I have a couple, because Giacomo will be like, no, I don't want any apples. And then as soon as I eat one, he's like, can I have a bite? So I always bring one for him too.
Sandwiches, instead of an apple, I always have to have a Dave's bagel. That's probably my airplane comfort food. And some Nuco bars.
Nuco bars, always. And often I don't even touch the bars when I travel, but I always have them in my backpack because you just never know when you're going to get stuck.
Sometimes I get on the plane, I'm just like, I just want to eat all the worst things. Give me chocolate now. That's the only thing I want.
It has to be like a Pavlovian response of being given snacks on planes. It has to be, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Oh, I remember what we talked about on the last one that I didn't say. We're getting real close to an hour here. When you are traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast, you're adding 3 hours to your day. You have got to give yourself some more macros for that day. Even if it's like 150 calories more or something, you're going to be a lot hungrier traveling from east to west. And don't feel bad if you have to bump your calories up by like 10, 15% for that day. Because also you're usually like waking up earlier than normal to get on a plane, and you're walking a lot more than normal. So, I mean, there were times I was traveling east to west coast on prep at the end on my low calories, like literally feeling like I was ready to faint because I was trying to stick to my regular prep macros in a day that was significantly longer. So it's tough sometimes to make these judgment calls for yourself, but you have my permission. Eat a little bit more when you're traveling east to west. But don't necessarily cut calories going the other way, unless you're just genuinely like, I'm full, I don't want to eat because this is a much shorter day. That's okay. But if you're feeling like you're kind of like punishing yourself a little bit because the day is shorter, or you suddenly feel like the day is shorter, so therefore I must have less food, like, don't do that.
Don't resort, don't out if you reach a point in your travel where it's like, I don't know what to eat, I don't want to go out of my way to find food, like I always say to people, like, I would rather you go a little bit over than go way under, because yeah, most of us most of the people we're talking to, you're on a diet right now, right? You don't want the weight loss from missing meals, fasting. That a lot of times is going to be the kind of weight loss you don't want.
And it's the kind of weight loss that makes you binge eventually.
Exactly. Regular meals, try to keep that up as best as possible, even if it's not ideal when you're traveling.
And stay hydrated. Stay hydrated because it's really easy to get dehydrated when you're traveling because you're busy and you're not thinking of drinking water. Depending on where you're traveling, like when you traveled up here, Alice, like because we had the heat blasted for winter, it's so dry. Gotta drink. Yeah. Gotta drink more water. The plains are usually very dry, kept with low humidity. Drink more water there. I think that's it. I think we crammed a lot into this episode, actually.
I'm glad that I had all my cool stuff to show off because I dork out about it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. This just makes me think I have to start packing for the cruise. I have not even started.
You should see the mess that is in this office right now.
Oh man, I cannot, my stress is so high right now, guys. Hopefully you can't tell, but I'm like, swing, like way off the charts with all the stuff that I've had to get done this week. And then like, oh shit, we got to re-record this episode and I still have to pack.
Sleep. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my spacing earlier. I'm just like, I'm not sleeping.
No, I didn't notice at all, other than that you told me, but otherwise I didn't notice. So, all right, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you have any travel tips that we forgot to mention, I would love to hear about it. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave it in the comments down below. If you're not, you can always shoot us an email, coach@VeganProteins. If you're looking for any kind of one-on-one coaching, that is what we do. We have 5 incredibly intelligent, caring vegan coaches who would love to be a part of your fitness journey. You can find us all on Instagram. Alice is Vegan Proteins. Alice, I am Vegan Proteins. 𝐶𝐭 is Muscles by Brussels. Ben is Ben A. Mitchell. And Sawyer is Soy Boy Fitness Coaching. Everybody's got something a little bit different that they put out there, so it could be fun to follow them all. And if you message any one of us, you will hear back from us. So any requests for the podcast, shoot them to coach@veganproteins.com. And again, if you are looking for one-on-one coaching, I believe the link for the coaching assessment is in the show notes or in the YouTube description down below. Fill that out. You'll hear back from one of us within a business day. I think that's everything. Once again, my name is Danny.
I'm Alice.
And we will talk to you later. Bye.